Solid waste management is one of the underrated topics when it comes to competitive examinations. But nowadays they are asking many questions from solid waste management and correspondingly municipal solid waste management also. And in GATE and ESC we can see more questions in based on municipal solid waste management. So now let's see some 10 important questions and corresponding concepts from the solid waste management. Let's get into it. So the first question goes here. Biological magnification means. It is a separate concept in solid waste management. What is biological magnification? It is corresponding to ecological means. So option A, likelihood of increasing size of animals during evolution. Option B, magnification pertaining to microscopy. Option C, accumulation of pollutants of soil. Option D, accumulation of pollutants in successive consumers. So what does biological magnification mean? So whether it is option A, likelihood of increasing size of animals during evolution, or option B, microscopy like, option C, accumulation of pollutants of soil, option D, accumulation of pollutants in successive consumers. So what is the definition? The answer is option D, accumulation of pollutants in successive consumers. You can see in this diagram. So here lake becomes toxic because of toxic wastes. So that toxicity gets transferred to some plantains, and that gets transferred to fishes and marine organisms, and that fish or marine organism is consumed by some animals, so that that's why some these toxicants these toxic materials or metals gets transferred to other animal, and that animal gets decomposed, and that decomposed matter will have that toxic metals or materials. So this is how biological magnification happens. That is nothing but accumulation of pollutants in successive consumers. Now let's see more about it. So basically, definition goes like this: the process of accumulation of certain chemicals in living organisms to a concentration higher than that occurring in the inorganic, non-living environment. So this is how this is a basic example we can get for biological magnification. And what are the toxic chemicals? Um, it can be mercury, it can be arsenic, it can be pesticides like polychlorinated biphenyls and DDT. These are some of the toxic materials that is getting transferred to a consumer successively. So this is called the biological magnification, or we can say bio accumulation or biomagnification. There are various terms synonymous to this. So what are the causes? What are the causes of this biological magnification? One is agriculture. Why agriculture? Because in agriculture, uh, various types of pesticides are used. Various types of pesticides are used. So that pesticides has many toxic metals. So that will be transferred to uh, that will be transferred to crops, and crops will be consumed by animals and humans. So the same toxicants will be transferred to another animal or another consumer. So this is how biological accumulation happens because of agriculture, because of the use of pesticides in agriculture. And other things are organic contaminants, industrial wastes, and mining in ocean. While mining in ocean, various metals are extracted, various minerals and metals are extracted. Some may be harmful to the environment. So that will be accumulated to another organism or another marine organism. So those marine organisms will be consumed by humans or animals. So that animal will also get affected with toxicants. So this is how biological magnification happens. Now let's move on to second question. Allowable disposal rate of sludge application in land. So there are various methods of disposal of sludge and refuse. So one of those method is disposal in land. So sludge application of land, the disposal rate is determined by which criteria? carbon content of sludge, option B nitrogen content, option C phosphorus content, option D potassium content. So which determines the allowable disposal rate of sludge application on land, whether it is carbon content or nitrogen content or phosphorus or potassium content. So which is the chemical that determines the allowable disposal rate? The correct option is option B. Nitrogen content of sludge determines the allowable disposal rate of sludge application on land. Now let's see some more important point regarding this. Design loading rates of land application of biosolids, nothing but the sludge, can be limited by two criteria. One is heavy metal and another one is nitrogen. So annual loading rate is limited by nitrogen loading rate when it comes to annual loading rate. When it comes to long term loading rate, it will be limited by heavy metals. So these two are the criteria that will determine the allowable disposal rate of sludge that will be applied on land. So other means of disposal of refuse are some like open dumping. One is landfilling. One by shredding and pulverization, or by composting, or by incineration and pyrolysis, or we can barge into sea. So these are some of the methods of disposal of refuse. So these are the means of disposal of refuse, and for in case of sludge disposal, we have to use these two criteria: heavy metals or nitrogen. Now let's move on to third question. Third question, ecologically most acceptable landfilling method is. There are various methods of landfilling. So what is the ecological method, most acceptable landfilling method? One is sanitary landfill, or it is composting, or it is incineration, or it is pyrolysis. So what is the ecologically most acceptable method? That is environmental friendly method, we can say. So what is this? What is the correct option? So the option is composting. Composting is the ecologically most acceptable landfilling method because composting does not harm environment and it has no harmful effects, no zero harmful effects. But unlike other things like sanitary landfill, incineration, pyrolysis has some demerits or some harmful effects to the environment. Let's see about those things. So in case of sanitary landfill, leachate will get accumulated. Leachate will be produced because of rainwater penetrating into it. So leachate from sanitary landfill tend to pollute groundwater. So leachate is a highly toxic liquid, and it will have very high viscosity, and that liquid will pollute groundwater. And what about incineration and pyrolysis? These are heat treatments. Incineration and pyrolysis will release air pollutants. And composting does not have any harmful effect. So that's why it is ecologically most acceptable landfilling method. But it requires a very high, large area. So that's only one of the disadvantage. But in with respect to environment friendly thing, composting is the most acceptable landfilling method. And by composting, the final end product will be manure, and that manure can be traded. So these are the important points regarding landfilling methods. Now let's see fourth question. Landfill sealants used for control of gas and leachate movements are. In a landfill, there will be generation of gases due to decomposition, and there will be leachate fluid because of rainfall penetrating into it. So to control that, we use landfill sealants. And what are those? Option A lime, option B bentonite, option C fly ash, option D butyl rubber. So this is a type of MSQ type question, multiple select question. So more than one option can be correct. So lime, bentonite, fly ash, butyl rubber. So what are the landfill sealants used for control of gas and leachate movements? So the correct answers are option B and D, bentonite and butyl rubber. Now let's see more about more landfill sealants like this. So before that, a sealant should be more impermeable than soil. When compared to soil, the sealant should be impermeable. So that's why it can resist or it can hold the water, or it cannot permit the water or gas, so that it can control the movements. And what are the other sealants like this? With respect to compacted clay, we can classify sealant as bentonite sealant, illite sealant, and kaolinite sealants. Inorganic chemical sealants include sodium carbonate, silicate, and pyrophosphate. Synthetic chemical sealant include polymers and rubber latex. Synthetic membrane, PVC, butyl rubber, hypolan, nylon reinforced liners, and polythene. When it comes to asphalt, it can be asphalt concrete. And what are the others? Gunite concrete, soil cement, plastic soil cement. These are some type of uh, landfill sealants available in market, so that it can be used to control gas and leachate movements. Now let's move on to fifth question. Some data is given. The solid waste collected has some composition like garbage 50 tons, rubbish 35 tons, debris 15 tons, night soil 60 tons. Among this, among the composition, the inorganic solid uh, composition is, the weight of inorganic solids is option A 50 tons, option B 15 tons, option C 110 tons, option D 75 tons. So what is the inorganic solids composition among the given four types of wastes collected? Garbage, rubbish, debris, night soil. So the correct answer is option A 50 tons. So how it is calculated? It is calculated on the basis of rubbish and debris. So 35 plus 15 gives 50. So why garbage and night soil are not included in inorganic? Because night soil contains high amounts of organic matters, and when it comes to garbage, it consists of food waste materials also. So food waste materials means it contains organic material. So these are not included in inorganic solid composition. So only in rubbish and debris inorganic solids are there. Only rubbish and debris are inorganic, and therefore 35 plus 15, 50 tons of inorganic solids. So what is a garbage? A garbage is nothing but it contains all sort of putrescible organic wastes. What is meant by putrescible matter? This is nothing but decomposable. So decomposable matters are there in garbage, and density varies from 450 to 900 kilogram per meter cube. And what is rubbish? Rubbish is nothing but matters which are combustible or incombustible inorganic entities, and that density ranges from 50 to 400 kilogram per meter cube. And when it comes to ashes, it contains incombustible ashes from chulhas. What is chulhas? It's type of chimneys or household chimneys from where ashes get originated. So it has density of 700 to 850 kilogram per meter cube. So on the basis of source, refuse can be classified as house originated refuse, street and trade or commercial refuse. So this is how we are classifying a refuse or trash. Now let's move on to sixth question. Which method conserve energy most efficiently in the form of gas or oil? So energy conserved in which method? Option A incineration with heat recovery. Option B combusting. Option C fluidized bed incineration. Option D pyrolysis. So among these four methods, which method will conserve most efficient which method will conserve energy most efficiently. That is, outcome will be in the form of gas or oil, and that gas or oil will be used to further consumption. So this is how energy is conserved most efficiently. In which among the following options? So the correct method that will conserve energy most efficiently is pyrolysis. Let's see how it is done. This pyrolysis is based on waste to energy principle, or we can say energy from waste. The definition goes like this: the process of generating energy in the form of electricity and or heat from the primary treatment of waste or the processing of waste into a fuel source. So processing of waste into a fuel source, or we can say in the form of gas or oil, so that we can use that gas or oil in another form to consume that. So the process that is used to convert plastic into fuel is known as pyrolysis. So that's why pyrolysis conserves energy most efficiently. Now let's move on to seventh question. This seventh question goes like this: solid waste generated from an industry contain two components, X and Y. These two components has these two compositions. In X component has C1 composition, Y component has C2 as composition, and their respective densities are rho 1 and rho 2. And we have to find the bulk density or composite density, how it is calculated, whether it is option A, B, C, or D. So what is the correct formula to find the bulk density value? So it is option A is the correct formula to find the bulk density or composite density value. So now let's see other important formulas or how it is arrived. Actually, this is the correct notation or correct formula that is arrived based on this. C1 plus C2 divided by rho. Rho is bulk density. It is equals to C1 by rho 1 plus C2 by rho 2. So with the assumption that adding all the composition is nothing but 100. So this is some example for a waste collected. In that waste, these are the components we can see: food waste, paper, cardboard, plastic, garden wastes, wood, tin cans. These are some wastes we can see in a lump of waste. So in this table they have given percentage by mass and typical density. So if you want to calculate the composite density, or we can say bulk density of all the components, we can use this formula: nothing but C1 plus C2 by rho equals to C1 by rho 1 plus C2 by rho 2, or this formula: rho is equal to 100 by C1 by rho 1 plus C2 by rho 2. Anything is preferable. And whenever we use this formula, we assume that all the components, all the compositions equals to 100 percentage. So if we add all the things, it should be 100, not less than 100. It should be 100. Now let's move on to eighth question. Raw MSW, municipal solid waste, contains 70% of decomposable material. Moisture content is 35%. They have given the ratios of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen as 44 is to 6 is to 43 is to zero point 0.8. These are percentage values, and if we add all the percentage values, it will come around less than 100 percentage, because the remaining percentage is for other materials. We have to discard those things. But this ratio value is based on the percentage. For example, carbon contains 44 percentage, hydrogen for 6 percentage, oxygen for 43 percentage, nitrogen for 0.8 percentage. Now we have to find the mass of methane produced per kg of raw MSW. This is a lengthy problem. We can calculate now. If you know how to calculate, please pause the video and calculate and check the answer. So option A, B, C, D are there, which is the correct option. This is somewhat lengthy problem. It includes one equation, three formulas to know mass of methane produced per kg of raw municipal solid waste. So the correct option is option D, 137.60 gram. Now let's see how it's calculated. So first they have given mass of mass of MSW is 1 kg. Why? We have to calculate per kg only, mass of methane per kg. So that's why we are taking mass of the solid waste as 1 kg. And what mass of decomposed material is 700 gram. How? Because they have given 70%. So 70% of 1 kilogram gives 700 gram. And the mass of decomposable solid, they have given 35% moisture content. So only 65% will be solid. So 65% of 700 gram will be 455 gram. So this is first step. This is the first step. Now let's move on to the chemical conditions: carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen. So how many moles of carbon we have to calculate, so that we can substitute in this stoichiometric chemical equation formula. So moles of carbon will be given by 455 gram. So how many decomposable solid are there? How much? It is 455 gram divided by 12. How 12? Because atomic mass, atomic weight of carbon is here. You can refer this one. Atomic weight of carbon is 12. So 455 divided by 12 into 44 percentage. Why they have given the ratio 44 percentage? So 44 percentage of 455 divided by 12 gives one answer. So that answer is denoted as A. Okay. Similarly, we have to find HON also. So for H, we have to calculate like 455 divided by 1. 455 divided by 1. How many percentage? 6 percentage. So 6 percentage of 455 gives the answer as 27.3. Then that will be denoted as B, small b value. And for oxygen, 455 divided by 16 into how many percentage? 43 percentage, or we can say 43 by 100. So that will give answer as 12.22, and that is denoted as small c. And for nitrogen, it is 455 divided by 14 into 0.8 percentage. So 0.8. So 0.8 divided by 100. This is how we have to put. So that will give answer as 0.26, and that is denoted as small d. These are based on the atomic weight. We have to calculate moles, how many moles are there, and we have to use this stoichiometric chemical equation. CaCHbOCND plus NH2 gives m molecules of methane plus SCO2 plus DNH3. So how to calculate N, M, S and T? Let's see that. So N is given by A minus B by 4 minus C by 2 minus 3D by 4. So these are some formulas based on this stoichiometric chemical equation formula. So how to calculate the number of moles? So N, when it comes to small n, that is how many molecules of H2 are needed. N is equal to A minus B by 4 minus C by 2 minus 3D by 4. When it comes to M, that is how many moles of methane required. M is equal to A by 2 plus B by 8 minus C by 4 minus 3D by 8. When we substitute all the values, we have arrived as A, B, C, D. We get M value as 8.6. So M times CH4, that is 8.6 times CH4. CH4 is methane. So how to calculate the atomic weight of CH4? How? 12 plus 4 into 1. So 12 plus 4, 16. So 8.6 into 16. That will give an answer as 137.6 gram. So this is how we have to calculate mass of methane produced per kilogram of raw MSW. And why we are calculating mass of methane? Because methane can be used as a fuel, and or we can consume that as a byproduct. in it is a byproduct in this chemical reaction, and we can consume that methane. So that's why we are calculating the methane value. So how it is calculated? Using this formula: a by 2 plus b by 8 plus minus c by 4 minus 3d by 8. And when it comes to carbon dioxide evolved, so that will be followed by this formula. This formula is more or less equal to m formula only. Our only thing is the sign change. Whenever there is plus, we have to put minus. Whenever there is minus, we have to put plus. So these are the some important and basic things regarding this stoichiometric equation. CaHbOCND plus NH2O gives M times CH4 plus S times carbon dioxide plus D times ammonia. So how to calculate N, M, S we have seen by using this formula, and most important formula is M formula only. So how to calculate that M formula? We can use A by 2 plus b by 8 plus minus c by 4 minus 3d by 8. So this formula is most important, we can say, because how many amount of mass of methane produces the most needed thing. So first we are calculating mass of MSW, and then decomposable, and then by using the percentage we are calculating solid amount, and then we are calculating moles of individual carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen by using atomic weights, and then we determine ABCD value, and by using ABCD value we have found the value of small m. That is nothing but a by 2 plus b by 8 minus c by 4 minus 3d by 8. Now let's move on to ninth question. Which one of the following parameters is not included in the routine characterization of solid waste for its physical composition? Not the point. It asked for physical composition. So there are two composition, physical and chemical. So they asked for physical composition. So option A, moisture content; option B, density; option C, particle size analysis; option D, energy value. So which among the following is the physical composition uh, that is actually not included in physical composition? They asked for not included. Which among the following is not included in physical composition? So that means that will be included in chemical composition. So what is that? So this is the answer: energy value. Energy value is included in chemical composition, not in physical composition. Now let's see about it more. Physical composition includes what? Particle size analysis, moisture content, density, and chemical composition includes energy content and chemical content. So this is the characterization of solid waste. Now let's move on to the last question, 10th question. The anaerobic digestion require optimum carbon to nitrogen ratio, C by N ratio of about. So this is regarding composting, where we have to specify optimum ratio of C by N. So what is that ratio? It will be around 50 to 90, or 20 to 80, or 30 to 50, or 80 to 100. So what is the optimum C by N ratio? You should not read like 50 is to 90. It is not. It is a range of C by N ratio only, 50 to 90, or it is C by N is equal to 20 to 80, or C by N is equal to 30 to 50, or C by N is equal to 80 to 100. So what is the optimum C by N ratio range? So the correct optimum C by N ratio is C, 30 to 50. Now let's see some more points about it. Why C by N ratio? C by N ratio is important for bacterial activity. That is, what is bacterial activity? It decomposes the organic matter and thereby producing useful byproducts. What happens if C by N ratio is higher, and what happens if C by N ratio is lower? If higher than optimum, what it means? C by N is higher. Higher means denominator value will be very low. So what does it mean? Very low means nitrogen will be completely used, but carbon content is higher than the usual, so that's why carbon will get left over, therefore digestion is incomplete. What if it is lower? What lower means what? Nitrogen content is higher than usual. So what happens? Carbon gets exhausted, and then fermentation stops before nitrogen consumption. So thereby forming ammonia gas. So that's why we are adopting the optimum CBN ratio of 30 to 50 only, not more than or not less than that. So this is the optimum value. You can see in this graph. Optimum CBN ratio is 30 to 50. So we are at the end of this video. If you like this video, please like, comment, share with your friends. Thank you.